The cold metal walls of Novaterra's underground complex echoed with a distant mechanical hum. June Park stood before a massive holographic display, his fingers tracing the faint outlines of forgotten star systems. Pale blue light reflected off his weathered face, mapping decades of hidden struggle and silent preparation. Novaterra wasn't just a colony. It was humanity's last heartbeat, a whispered promise of survival hidden deep within a barren, radiation-scorched planet. 500,000 years had passed since Earth's destruction, and every human remaining carried the weight of that ancient tragedy in their blood. June remembered the stories passed down through generations, how the Galactic Empire had crushed Earth without mercy, reducing entire continents to cosmic dust. His grandmother's grandmother had spoken of blue skies, vast oceans, and a world teeming with life, a world now nothing more than a distant memory. Area. The colony's central artificial intelligence projected tactical scenarios across the holographic display. Her crystalline voice broke the silence. Probability of successful reconnaissance, 87.62%. Each word was precise, calculated, devoid of emotion yet carrying the entire hope of a species. Around June, technicians moved with practiced efficiency. Generations of survival had transformed humans into something more than their ancestors. Genetic modifications allowed them to withstand extreme radiation, process minimal oxygen, and maintain peak cognitive functions in conditions that would have killed ordinary humans centuries ago. The underground complex stretched for kilometers beneath Novaterra's surface. Massive engineering halls housed quantum computers that could process more information in a microsecond than entire planetary networks of the past. Weapon development chambers hummed with experimental technologies that defied conventional understanding. Hana Kim, the colony's chief strategic architect, approached June with a data tablet. Her eyes, enhanced with microscopic neural implants, reflected a cold determination. First-wave reconnaissance drones are ready for deployment, she reported. No unnecessary words, no emotional complexity, just pure, focused communication. Outside the complex, Novaterra's surface looked like a nightmare. Constant electrical storms raged across rocky landscapes. Toxic winds carried particles that would kill unprotected life within minutes. But for the humans of this colony, this hellscape was home. A training ground. A waiting room for revenge. June's hand unconsciously touched the genetic insignia embedded near his collarbone. A small metallic chip that contained the compressed genetic history of his entire lineage. Each human in the colony carried such a marker, a living memorial to those who had been lost. Rhea continued projecting potential invasion scenarios. Thousands of simulated galactic confrontations played out in milliseconds, each one analyzed, each potential outcome calculated with machine precision. The AI was more than a computer system. It was the collective strategic memory of humanity. Young technicians watched June with a mixture of respect and anticipation. He wasn't just a leader, he was a living symbol of human resilience. His great-grandparents had been among the first to establish this hidden colony, ensuring that humanity would never truly be extinguished. The weapon development sections of the complex were a marvel of engineering. Plasma cannons that could slice through battleships, quantum entanglement communication systems that could transmit messages faster than light, stealth technologies that could render entire fleets invisible. Humanity had been preparing, waiting, learning. Desung Lee, the quantum engineering lead, walked in with a new set of calculations. "We've developed a new quantum drive," he said simply. "It can potentially bypass current galactic blocking technologies." His statement carried the weight of decades of research, of countless failed experiments, of unwavering human determination. June looked at the holographic display one more time. The Galactic Empire believed humanity was extinct. They had no idea that in this hidden corner of the universe, an entire species had been preparing, evolving, waiting for the perfect moment to strike back. "Initiate preliminary launch sequence," June said quietly. Aria's response was immediate. "Preliminary launch sequence initiated. Estimated time to first reconnaissance mission, 47 minutes. The complex continued its rhythmic hum. Machines calibrated, humans prepared. A species that had been nearly wiped from existence was about to remind the galaxy of its existence. Revenge, after 500,000 years, was finally preparing to be served. The laboratories of Nova Terra pulsed with an electric energy that seemed to breathe life into metal and circuitry. Daesung Lee stood before a massive quantum processor, his hands moving carefully across holographic interfaces that flickered with impossible complexity. Humanity's technological resurrection was not just about rebuilding. It was about reimagining what technology could be. Each component, each circuit was a rebellion against the species' near-total extinction. The quantum processors here could do more than compute. They could dream, predict, and create. Yoon Choi, the xenobiological specialist, watched a molecular reconstruction chamber with intense concentration. Inside, nanobots smaller than a human, cell worked with surgical precision, rebuilding complex organic structures from fragmented genetic memories. These were not just machines, they were the architects of human survival. Aria's voice echoed through the laboratory. Quantum stability at 99.9997%. Genetic reconstruction protocols operating within acceptable parameters. The AI was more than a computer system. It was the collective intelligence of humanity compressed into pure digital consciousness. The weapon being developed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It wasn't just a weapon of destruction, but a system of total technological dominance. Quantum entanglement drives that could teleport entire battleships, plasma cannons that could slice through matter at the molecular level, and stealth technologies that could render entire fleets invisible. Hana Kim reviewed the latest test results. Her enhanced neural implants processed information at speeds that would have seemed impossible to humans from centuries ago. Each calculation, each projection was a step closer to revenge. The Galactic Empire had thought they had erased humanity. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The laboratory walls were lined with preserved technology from Earth. Fragmented data drives, quantum chips, and genetic archives, each a precious reminder of a world long destroyed. These were not just artifacts, they were the seeds of humanity's rebirth. Daesung's latest breakthrough was a quantum communication system that could transmit information faster than light. Messages could now travel across entire star systems in fractions of a second. The isolation that had kept humanity hidden was about to become their greatest weapon. Young technicians worked with a precision that bordered on machine-like efficiency. Generations of survival had transformed humans into something more than their ancestors. Genetic modifications allowed them to process information, withstand extreme conditions, and push technological boundaries beyond imagination. The power source for these technologies was equally revolutionary. Dark matter extractors pulled energy directly from the fabric of space-time. Each pulse generated enough power to destroy entire planetary systems or rebuild civilizations. Yoon's genetic reconstruction work was particularly fascinating. She could take fragmented DNA, analyze its potential, and rebuild entire biological systems. Organs that could survive in extreme radiation, neural networks that could process information at unprecedented speeds. Humans were no longer just adapting, they were evolving by design. Aria continued to calculate, predict, and prepare. The AI was monitoring thousands of potential invasion scenarios simultaneously. Each potential confrontation was analyzed, each potential outcome calculated with machine precision. The collective strategic memory of humanity was being compressed into pure computational potential. The weapon development sections revealed humanity's true potential. Plasma cannons that could slice through battleships like paper. Quantum shields that could deflect entire energy attacks. Stealth technologies that could render entire fleets invisible to the most advanced scanning systems. June Park walked through the laboratory, his presence creating a wave of focused energy. He wasn't just a leader, he was a living symbol of human resilience. Every technological breakthrough was a statement. Humanity would not be forgotten. Humanity would not be erased. Final system check, Daesung announced. The quantum processor hummed with potential energy. Years of research, decades of preparation, centuries of hidden survival, all compressed into this moment. Arya's voice cut through the anticipation. All systems operational. Technological resurrection protocol complete. The laboratory fell silent. Machines continued their precise movements. Humans stood ready. A species that had been nearly wiped from existence was about to show the galaxy the true meaning of technological resurrection. The next phase of human survival was about to begin. The first stealth ships moved like ghosts through the dark spaces between star systems. June Park watched the holographic displays, his fingers tracing their silent paths across the galactic map. These were not ordinary ships. They were living. Machines bred from humanity's most advanced technological dreams. Arya's voice was a soft whisper. Initial infiltration successful. Detection probability, 0.3%. Each movement was calculated. Each approach a chess move centuries in planning. The ships used quantum tunneling technology that made traditional detection systems useless. They slipped between dimensional barriers, becoming momentarily invisible. To the Galactic Empire's most advanced scanning networks, Hana Kim had spent decades perfecting this technology, a silent weapon more dangerous than any direct assault. Aboard the lead ship, Captain Min Ho Park controlled a network of advanced reconnaissance drones. Each drone was smaller than a human, hand but carried enough computational power to analyze entire planetary systems in milliseconds. They moved through asteroid fields between energy barriers, collecting information with surgical precision. The first target was a minor Galactic Empire outpost on the edge of the Orion cluster. It looked like an ordinary monitoring station, but Arya's calculations suggested it was a critical communication hub. Destroying it would create an information blackout that would confuse the Empire's military command. Yoon Choi had prepared special infiltration units, hybrid biological mechanical beings that could adapt to any environment, pass through any security system. They looked human enough to avoid immediate suspicion, but their internal systems were pure technological marvel. The attack would be silent. No massive explosions, no dramatic space battles. Just a precise removal of critical infrastructure. Each movement was designed to create confusion, to make the Empire question its own systems. Daesung Lee's quantum communication systems intercepted and decoded Empire communications in real time. Encrypted messages were broken down, analyzed, their secrets revealed within microseconds. The humans were listening, learning, preparing. The infiltration units moved like liquid metal. They could change shape, adapt to different gravitational environments, hack any computer system. Years of genetic and technological engineering had created the perfect infiltrators, human in appearance, but something entirely different in capability. One of the reconnaissance drones detected a critical weakness in the outpost's defensive systems. A small energy fluctuation that would be invisible to normal scanning methods. Arya calculated the precise moment of vulnerability. Infiltration sequence initiated, Arya announced. The attack lasted less than 3 minutes. No alarms were triggered, no emergency signals sent. By the time the Galactic Empire realized something was wrong, the human ships had already vanished, leaving behind only questions and subtle technological disruptions. Captain Minho watched the operation unfold with calm precision. This was more than a military mission. This was a statement. Humanity was not dead. Humanity was not defeated. Humanity was preparing. The collected data would take weeks to fully analyze, but each fragment was a weapon. Each intercepted communication, a potential strategy. The humans were building a complete picture of the Empire's weaknesses, preparing for something much larger. Arya continued processing. Thousands of potential scenarios played out in microseconds. Each potential confrontation analyzed, each potential outcome calculated with machine precision. The collective strategic memory of humanity was being transformed into pure tactical potential. June Park allowed himself a small smile. The first strike was complete, silent, precise, undetectable. The Galactic Empire would soon learn that humanity was not a memory. Humanity was a force waiting to be reckoned with. "Return to base," June commanded. The stealth ships vanished into the darkness between stars, carrying with them the first seeds of a much larger invasion. No explosions, no dramatic battles. Just a silent, precise reminder that humanity was still very much alive. The rebellion began not with a bang, but with a whisper. June Park watched as the first alien species responded to humanity's carefully orchestrated signals. These were not conquests, but liberations. Area calculated the probability of successful alliance 76.4%. Each communication was a precise invitation, each message a potential bridge between oppressed civilizations. The Krell, a silicon-based species from the Andromeda sector, were the first to respond. Their civilization had suffered under the Galactic Empire's brutal control for thousands of years, centuries of genetic suppression, technological limitation, cultural destruction. They were ready to fight. Hana Kim designed the communication protocols, messages that could bypass traditional communication barriers, signals that spoke directly to the hope of resistance. Each transmission was a carefully crafted weapon of liberation. Daesung Lee's quantum communication systems created networks that the Empire couldn't track. Encrypted channels that jumped between dimensional spaces, carrying messages of rebellion faster than light itself. The technological marvel was not just in the communication, but in its absolute invisibility. The Yao first meeting happened on a small moon orbiting a dying star. Representatives from 5 different oppressed species gathered, with human diplomats standing quietly in the background. No dramatic speeches, no grand declarations, just a simple understanding of shared suffering. Yoon Choi's xenobiological research proved crucial. She had developed communication interfaces that could translate not just languages, but emotional states. Each species could truly understand the other's pain, their hope, their desire for freedom. The Galactic Empire had believed its control was absolute. They had no idea that beneath the surface, a network of resistance was forming. Each liberated system added strength to the growing coalition. Area continued to calculate. Thousands of potential scenarios played out in microseconds. The AI was more than a computer system. It was the strategic heart of a galactic rebellion. The Zorn, a gaseous species from the Outer Rim, brought advanced energy manipulation technologies. The Silicon Collective of Proxima offered quantum computing capabilities beyond anything the Empire had seen. Each species brought something unique, something powerful. June Park moved between diplomatic meetings with calculated precision. He was not just a military leader, but a symbol of resistance. His presence spoke of a species that had survived near total extinction, a promise of hope for other oppressed civilizations. The rebellion's first major action was strategic. Not a direct military confrontation, but a series of coordinated infrastructure attacks. Communication networks disrupted, supply lines cut. The Empire's seemingly invincible control began to crack. Hana's strategic projections showed the potential for a complete systemic collapse. Each small action was a precise strike, designed to create maximum confusion with minimal direct conflict. The human ships moved like shadows between star systems. They were not conquerors, but catalysts, bringing hope, bringing technology, bringing the possibility of freedom to species that had forgotten what freedom meant. Arya's voice cut through the strategic meetings. Rebellion expansion probability increasing. Current projection shows potential. Total systemic breakdown within 72 standard cycles. Daesung's technology allowed instantaneous communication between rebel groups. Information flowed like a living network, faster than the Empire could track or control. Each message was a potential spark of revolution. The Krell representative stood beside June during one critical meeting. Its silicon-based body shifted with emotional intensity. "We fight not just for ourselves," it communicated, "but for the possibility of what could be." Yoon watched the diplomatic exchanges, her enhanced neural implants processing multiple communication layers simultaneously. She saw more than words. She saw the birth of a galactic movement. The rebellion was not just a military action. It was a reimagining of possibility. Species that had been separated, controlled, and suppressed were finding each other, finding hope. June looked out at the gathered representatives. Dozens of species, each with their own unique biology, their own painful history of oppression. And at the center of it all, humans, a species once thought extinct, now the architects of a galactic transformation. We are not conquerors, June said simply. We are liberators. The rebellion continued to grow. Silently, precisely, unstoppably. The universe held its breath. Thousands of ships emerged from quantum tunnels, surrounding the galactic empire's central homeworld. Each vessel carried the weight of 500,000 years of human survival, of collective pain, of unbroken spirit. June Park stood on the bridge of the flagship, his eyes reflecting cold determination. Aria's quantum processors calculated battle scenarios faster than thought itself. Final confrontation probability of success, 94.3%, the AI announced. The Empire's defense systems activated too late. Humanity's technological evolution had transformed them beyond recognition. Ships that could shift between dimensional spaces, weapons that could dissolve matter at the molecular level, shields that could absorb entire energy bombardments. Hana Kim's strategic planning revealed itself in perfect execution. Each ship moved with choreographed precision, blocking communication channels, disrupting defensive networks. The Galactic Empire's seemingly impenetrable systems began to crumble like ancient glass. Daesung Li's quantum weapon systems fired first. Not massive explosions, but precise molecular disruptions that caused entire Imperial battleships to simply disappear. No debris, no dramatic destruction, just complete atomic dissolution. The alien coalition surrounded the human fleet. The Krell's energy manipulation technologies, the Silicon Collective's computational power. Dozens of species united by a single purpose. Liberation. Imperial communication channels erupted in confusion. Their most advanced scanning systems couldn't track the human fleet. Ships appeared and disappeared like phantoms, striking with surgical precision. Yoon Choi's biological warfare units moved through Imperial space stations. Not killing, but neutralizing. Sophisticated nanobots that could shut down entire technological systems without firing a single weapon. The Imperial Supreme Commander watched in horror. Decades of believed superiority collapsed within minutes. Humanity, a species they had considered extinct, was dismantling their entire civilization with cold, calculated efficiency. Aria's voice remained calm. Systematic shutdown of Imperial defensive networks, 67% complete. Each word was a death sentence for an empire that had believed itself invincible. June's personal confrontation with the Imperial Supreme Overlord was brief. Not a dramatic battle, but a precise technological intervention. A quantum frequency that completely neutralized the Overlord's defensive systems. 500,000 years, June said simply. We remember. The final assault lasted less than 3 standard hours, not through massive destruction, but through complete systemic collapse. Communication networks died, defensive systems failed. Entire planetary governments found themselves suddenly disconnected. Alien species watched in amazement. The humans weren't conquering. They were liberating. Each system they passed was given a choice: join the new galactic network or remain. Isolated, the technological marvel wasn't just in the weapons, it was in the precision, the absolute control. Humanity had transformed from a nearly extinct species to the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Aria continued calculating, processing, preparing for the next phase of galactic reconstruction. Imperial ships began surrendering, not through defeat, but through complete technological submission. Their systems simply stopped functioning, replaced by human-designed networks that offered cooperation, not control. Daesung's quantum communication systems began rebuilding galactic infrastructure immediately. New networks that connected species, shared knowledge, created unprecedented levels of cooperation. Yoon's biological research teams were already working on healing the genetic damages caused by centuries of imperial suppression, not just for humans but for every species that had suffered. The battle wasn't just won, it was reimagined. June looked out at the stars. Humanity had survived. Not just survived, they had transformed. From a species on the brink of extinction to the architects of a new galactic order. For Earth, he whispered. The universe listened.